today's fast-paced world, it's easy to forget that true peace and mental well-being start with prioritizing yourself. You can't fully help others if you're not taking care of your own needs first. Prioritizing yourself means making tough choices, like saying no when needed and taking breaks before you burn out. It's not about being selfish, but about being wise. Rest and self-care aren't luxuries. They're necessities that allow you to function at your best. To make lasting changes, practice these principles daily. Revisit this video whenever you need a reminder and share it with friends and family who might also need to hear it. Take a moment now to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What's one thing you'll do today to prioritize yourself? Let's create a ripple effect of self-care and peace together. 1. Prioritize yourself, not others' expectations. In our daily lives, we're constantly confronted with the expectations of others, family, friends, colleagues, and even society at large. There's an unspoken pressure to meet these demands, and often we lose ourselves in the process. It's easy to forget what you truly want when everyone around you has their own set of expectations. You may find yourself thinking, am I living for myself, or am I living to meet the expectations of others? This is a question that deserves attention. Take James, for example, a friend I once knew. James was the type of person who would always put others first. He was constantly helping his friends, attending to his family's needs, and going out of his way to make sure everyone else was taken care of. However, over time he found himself overwhelmed, drained, and ultimately burnt out. He had neglected his own well-being, thinking that being constantly available for others was a virtue. He believed that if he kept giving and sacrificing, others would appreciate him more. But instead, he found himself feeling increasingly exhausted and disconnected from his own desires. The story of James is a lesson we all can learn from. He had, like many of us, been taught that his value came from how much he could do for others. He believed that he was only worthy if he could meet the demands of those around him. But the reality is, he wasn't helping anyone, least of all himself. The more he gave, the less he had to offer. This created a cycle where he became resentful of others' expectations. But worse, he became resentful of himself. He had forgotten that self-care wasn't selfish, it was essential. Without nurturing himself, he had nothing left to give. He had depleted his emotional, mental, and physical reserves. Only when he began to recognize this imbalance and start prioritizing his own needs did he begin to reclaim his sense of self. Stoicism teaches us an important lesson here. You cannot give from an empty cup. The idea of self-prioritization isn't just about taking care of your body or mind. It's about understanding that you are the foundation of everything you do. When we neglect ourselves in pursuit of meeting others' needs, we're actually doing them a disservice. We can't fully show up for anyone, be it family, friends, or coworkers, unless we first show up for ourselves. The Stoics emphasize the importance of inner strength and self-resilience. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, believed that we must first master our own minds before we can truly serve others. This means taking the time to understand ourselves, to prioritize our needs, and to live intentionally. In practice, this involves making tough decisions, saying no when necessary, setting boundaries, and acknowledging that your well-being matters just as much as anyone else's. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that our worth is tied to what we do for others. In fact, society often encourages this mindset, valuing people for their productivity and ability to meet external demands. But when we shift our focus inward and realize that our own needs deserve attention, we start to operate from a place of strength rather than depletion. Prioritizing yourself doesn't mean abandoning the needs of others. It simply means recognizing that without a solid foundation, you can't build anything meaningful. In practical terms, prioritizing yourself may look like taking breaks when you need them, refusing to take on extra responsibilities that stretch you too thin, or simply asking for help when you're overwhelmed. It means acknowledging that your physical, mental, and emotional health should be your top priority, not something that can be sacrificed in the name of others' demands. Furthermore, prioritizing yourself helps you become more present and effective when you do engage with others. When you take care of yourself, you have more to offer, whether it's the energy to be a supportive friend, the focus to excel at work, or the patience to be a loving family member. You're not only doing yourself a favor, you're also creating a space where you can better serve and connect with the people who matter most in your life. So, when you find yourself running on empty, remember this. Self-care isn't just about pampering yourself. It's about respecting your needs and recognizing that you can't give from a place of depletion. Take a step back and ask yourself, am I prioritizing myself or am I prioritizing everyone else's expectations? If the answer is the latter, it might be time to make a change. The first step in living a fulfilled life, one that serves both yourself and others, is to understand that prioritizing yourself is not only okay, it's essential. 2. The power of saying no. Feeling responsible for the people around us is a natural part of life. We often strive to help others, fulfill their commitments, and be there when needed. However, have you ever stopped to consider the power of saying no? Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It's actually a sign of self-respect and acknowledgement of your limits. You cannot be everything to everyone, and the idea that you must always say yes to avoid disappointing others can lead to resentment and burnout. There's a Stoic principle that reminds me of this truth. If you try to do everything, you'll do nothing well. This simple yet profound thought applies to nearly every aspect of life. Have you ever found yourself saying yes when you really wanted to say no? Perhaps you agreed to take on another project at work, attended an event you didn't feel up to, or helped someone, even though it stretched your emotional or physical resources. In the moment, you may have believed you were doing the right thing, but the reality is that you end up overwhelmed and unable to give your best to anything. Not only do you harm your own well-being, but you also fail to provide meaningful help to others because you're spreading yourself too thin. This is where the power of saying no comes in. It's not about rejecting loved ones or neglecting responsibilities. It's about recognizing your limits and honoring them. When you say no to something, you're not just protecting your time or energy, but you're also protecting your mental and emotional peace. This idea is grounded in Stoic philosophy, which teaches us the importance of focusing on what is within our control and letting go of what is not. You can't control how much others demand from you, but you can control how you respond. And sometimes, the healthiest response is to say no. Many of us are conditioned to believe that saying no makes us appear weak or unhelpful, especially in a society that often values constant productivity and availability. But the truth is, saying no is a powerful act of self-care and personal integrity. It's about choosing quality over quantity, focusing on what truly matters, and ensuring that you are able to give your best to the things that align with your values and well-being. Take a moment to think about the last time you said yes out of obligation, rather than desire. How did it feel afterward? Were you satisfied with your decision, or did it leave you feeling drained and resentful? This is a powerful indication that the cost of saying yes was greater than the benefit. The act of saying no, on the other hand, might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's ultimately empowering. It allows you to carve out time and energy for the things and people who truly matter. Learning the art of saying no requires practice, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. You might start small by politely declining invitations or tasks that don't serve your best interests. Over time, this practice will help you establish healthy boundaries, and you'll find that saying no is an act of kindness, not only to yourself, but also to others. By saying no, you're not being unkind. You're ensuring that when you do say yes, you can give your full attention and care. In Stoic thought, there's a deep respect for the idea of prioritizing your own mental and emotional clarity. It's not selfish to protect peace, it's essential. Imagine if you always said yes. How much of your energy and focus would be lost to others' demands? Saying no is a way of reclaiming your time, your energy, and ultimately your peace of mind. When you make it a habit to say no to what isn't in alignment with your values or your well-being, you're not just protecting yourself, you're allowing yourself to live a life that is more intentional, more focused, and more peaceful. So next time you feel pressured to say yes, pause and reflect. Is this something that truly aligns with your priorities? Will saying yes add value to your life, or will it stretch you too thin? The more you practice saying no, the more you'll realize how powerful and liberating it can be. It's not about being selfish, it's about being true to yourself. When you honor your limits, you allow yourself the space to be the best version of you. And in doing so, you can serve others from a place of strength and authenticity, rather than exhaustion. 3. Rest is not weakness, but wisdom first. I want to acknowledge you for sticking with me this far, for continuing to listen and reflect on these words. Your patience is a testament to your willingness to change and grow. Thank you for accompanying me on this journey. Rest. It's something that seems so simple, yet is often neglected in our fast-paced, achievement-driven world. How many times have you stayed up late to finish work, ignoring the signs from your body that it needed rest? How often have you pushed through exhaustion, thinking that slowing down would make you appear weak or lazy? I remember a friend of mine, Michael, who never allowed himself to rest. He was constantly on the go, working hard, sacrificing sleep, and ignoring the growing fatigue. Over time, his body began to protest. He got sick, felt drained, and realized that he couldn't go on this way. It was only then that he understood a powerful truth. Rest is not a sign of weakness. It's an essential act of self-care that protects both your body and your mind. Michael's experience is a powerful reminder that we often view rest as something indulgent, something we can do without. We convince ourselves that pushing through is a sign of strength, that taking a break is a luxury. But the reality is quite the opposite. In the teachings of Stoicism, we learn that true strength comes not from pushing ourselves to the point of breaking, but from recognizing when we need to pause and recharge. As Marcus Aurelius wisely put it, it is not the quantity of work that builds strength, but the quality of rest. The ability to recognize when you need rest and to take it without guilt is a mark of true wisdom. It's about understanding your limits and knowing that you can't be effective, let alone resilient, if you neglect your health. Rest isn't just about physical recovery, it's also about mental and emotional rejuvenation. Without adequate rest, our minds become foggy, our focus wanes, and our ability to make thoughtful decisions diminishes. This cycle of exhaustion and burnout is a trap that many of us fall into, believing that more hours of work will bring more success. Yet we fail to realize that without proper rest, we are not performing at our best. Instead of working harder, we need to work smarter. And part of working smarter is recognizing that rest is a crucial component of success. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. When was the last time you allowed yourself to truly rest? Not just a quick nap or a few hours of sleep, but genuine, restorative rest where you disconnect from the pressures around you. If you can't remember, or if you feel guilty for even thinking about taking a break, that's a sign you might be neglecting an important part of your well-being. The Stoics understood that to live a balanced and purposeful life, we must make space for rest, both physical and mental. In fact, they argued that resting is an act of self-discipline. It's about respecting your body's natural rhythms and honoring the fact that you are not a machine. Rest is essential for long-term health and productivity, not just a temporary fix. Moreover, rest is a form of self-respect. When you allow yourself to rest, you're telling your body and mind that they deserve care, that they are worthy of time to recover and heal. This is a powerful statement to make, especially in a world that glorifies hustle and constant activity. The truth is, you cannot give your best to the world if you're running on empty. You can't support others, fulfill your responsibilities, or chase your dreams effectively if you haven't first taken care of yourself. And taking care of yourself includes resting. Resting doesn't mean you're not committed to your goals or your responsibilities. It means you're committed to maintaining your energy, clarity, and overall well-being in the long run. It means understanding that the road to success is not a sprint, but a marathon. By embracing rest as part of your routine, you set yourself up for sustained success, not burnout. Remember, when you rest, you return stronger, more focused, and more capable of taking on whatever challenges lie ahead. So don't feel guilty for needing rest. Embrace it as a crucial part of your journey toward achieving your goals, maintaining your peace, and living a life of true strength. It's not a luxury, it's wisdom. By giving yourself permission to rest, you are investing in your future self. The Stoics knew this, and it's time we recognize it too. 4. Stop seeking external validation. We live in a world where validation from others is often seen as a measure of our worth. Whether it's through likes on social media, compliments from colleagues, or praise from family and friends, many of us seek approval from external sources. But does this constant chase for external validation actually lead to happiness? The truth is, the more we rely on others' opinions to define our self-worth, the more vulnerable we become to disappointment and insecurity. I remember a friend of mine, Sarah, who was always in search of praise. She would post a picture on Instagram, hoping to see a flood of likes and positive comments. In her mind, these external signals were the affirmation she needed to feel good about herself. However, one day, she had an experience that changed everything. Sarah posted something she was really proud of, but this time, the response was tepid. No flood of likes, no overwhelming support. For the first time in a long while, she felt a deep sense of loss. The lack of external validation made her question her worth. She began to feel that maybe she wasn't good enough, despite knowing in her heart that the content she shared was meaningful. It was in that moment that Sarah realized the truth. Seeking constant external validation only left her feeling empty. This realization came straight from Stoic philosophy, a wisdom that teaches us that true contentment cannot be found in the approval of others. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, we cannot control what others think of us, but we can control how we think of ourselves. In other words, the more you depend on external validation, the less connected you become to your own sense of self. When your worth is tied to how others perceive you, you are constantly chasing an illusion, and no matter how much you get, it will never be enough. This need for external approval is like a double-edged sword. It may give you a temporary sense of gratification, but it also leaves you exposed to the judgments of others. When you rely on the opinion of the crowd to feel validated, you end up living for others, not for yourself. You become a reflection of the expectations and approval of others, rather than your own values and truth. The path to real freedom and peace is understanding that validation must come from within, not from the outside world. The Stoics teach us to turn inward. They advise that we build our confidence and sense of self-worth through self-acceptance, not by constantly seeking affirmation from others. Learning to value yourself without needing external validation is a profound shift in perspective. When you stop living for the approval of others and begin to focus on self-acceptance, you free yourself from the anxiety and insecurity that come with constantly measuring up to others' expectations. It's about recognizing that you are enough just as you are, regardless of whether others recognize it or not. Self-acceptance doesn't mean ignoring constructive feedback or abandoning relationships that matter. It means finding peace with who you are, independent of the constant praise or criticism from the world around you. This internal validation is much more powerful and sustainable than any external applause. It's rooted in the understanding that your value is intrinsic, not based on how others perceive you. The more Sarah reflected on this lesson, the more she realized that by seeking validation from others, she had been giving up her own power. It was only when she started embracing her own worth, regardless of external feedback, that she began to feel truly empowered. She no longer waited for the next like or comment to feel good about herself. Instead, she started valuing her own judgment and recognizing her worth internally. If you find yourself constantly chasing approval from others, ask yourself why. What are you hoping to gain? True happiness doesn't come from external sources, it comes from within. When you stop seeking validation from the outside, you create the space for true self-confidence to grow. The journey to inner peace begins with the simple but powerful act of accepting yourself without needing the constant reassurance of others. By embracing the Stoic wisdom of controlling your own perceptions, you stop being a slave to external validation. You start living for yourself, not for the applause of others. And in doing so, you find a peace that is lasting, unshakable, and independent of the opinions of the world around you. This inner peace allows you to live with intention, purpose, and clarity, knowing that you are enough exactly as you are. 5. Protect your peace, even in chaos. Life is full of unexpected challenges, and sometimes it feels like we're swept up in a whirlwind, unable to control the chaos around us. The demands of work, family, and society can quickly overwhelm us, making it difficult to maintain any sense of calm. But what if, amidst the chaos, you could protect your peace? Is it possible to stay centered when everything around you seems out of control? I think of Sarah, a close friend of mine, as a prime example of this struggle. Sarah worked in a high-pressure job where the constant stress of meeting deadlines and handling demanding clients left her feeling drained. She often found herself stuck in a cycle of worry, trying to manage it all, yet constantly feeling as though she was falling short. One particularly hectic day, when everything seemed to be falling apart, Sarah reached a breaking point. She decided to step away from her desk, leave the office, and take a walk around the block to clear her head. In those few minutes of walking in silence, Sarah realized something profound. Peace was a choice. This simple decision, to walk away from the noise, allowed her to reclaim a sense of calm she had lost. It wasn't about solving all the problems at that moment, but rather about giving herself permission to take a break. She had forgotten that sometimes the best way to handle chaos is to step back, take a breath, and find stillness within. Sarah's experience is a perfect example of what Stoic philosophy teaches us. We cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. It's easy to get caught up in the rush of life, feeling like we must react quickly to every situation. But Stoics like Epictetus understood that our power lies not in controlling the external world, but in mastering our internal reactions. When we choose to protect our peace, even in the midst of turmoil, we are exercising the ultimate form of control, the control over our own minds. This ability to remain composed, no matter what is happening around us, is essential for maintaining mental clarity and emotional balance. Imagine facing a stressful situation at work. The pressure builds as deadlines approach and your to-do list grows longer. If you let yourself become swept up in the chaos, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But if instead, you take a moment to pause, breathe, and regain control of your thoughts, you'll notice a shift. The situation hasn't changed, but your ability to navigate it calmly has. You're no longer a victim of the stress, you're a participant in the solution. By protecting your peace, you open the space for clearer thinking, better decision-making, and greater resilience in the face of adversity. In practice, protecting your peace involves being mindful of your environment and your mental state. It's about recognizing when external noise is starting to affect you and taking steps to shield yourself from it. This might mean taking a few minutes to meditate or simply stepping outside for a walk, as Sarah did. It could mean saying no to unnecessary distractions or setting boundaries with people who drain your energy. Whatever it looks like, protecting your peace requires an active effort to preserve your well-being, even when the world around you is anything but calm. When you learn to safeguard your peace, you're not avoiding the challenges of life. You're preparing yourself to face them with clarity and strength. Life will always present obstacles, but your ability to protect your internal calm will determine how you respond. Instead of reacting impulsively or emotionally, you can choose to act with wisdom and composure. This is what Stoicism is all about: embracing the things you can control, letting go of what you can't, and maintaining inner peace no matter what external chaos may arise. So the next time you find yourself caught up in the whirlwind of life, remember that your peace is something you can protect. You can choose to step back, breathe, and regain your focus. By doing so, you will not only maintain your peace, but also increase your ability to handle life's challenges with grace and resilience. Just like Sarah, you'll find that in choosing to protect your peace, you can weather any storm with a calm and centered mind. 6. Let go of what you can't control. The desire to control everything around us is a natural part of being human. We want things to go according to plan, and when they don't, we feel anxious and frustrated. But there's a deep lesson in Stoic philosophy that I want to share. Not everything in life is within your control. Think back to those times when you've been stressed by a situation beyond your control, like getting stuck in traffic and being late for an important meeting. Perhaps, like my friend Jason, you've experienced similar moments where the unexpected felt overwhelming. Jason used to constantly worry about things that were outside his control. Unexpected setbacks, uncontrollable events, and outcomes that were beyond his influence. He'd find himself spiraling into stress and frustration, convinced that worrying would somehow resolve the situation. But the more he worried, the more exhausted he became, losing both his energy and peace of mind in the process. It was only when Jason started embracing Stoic thinking that things began to shift. Instead of fixating on what he couldn't change, he began to focus on what he could control, his response and mindset in the situation. As Seneca wisely stated, life is about choice, and you get to choose your response. This realization didn't mean that Jason stopped caring about the outcomes of situations, but it meant he learned how to let go of his attachment to them. This is the essence of Stoicism, accepting that life won't always go according to plan, but your reaction to life's unpredictable nature is within your power. In Stoic philosophy, the only true control we have is over our own thoughts and actions. When we stop trying to control everything around us and focus on mastering our own reactions, we gain a sense of freedom that can't be disturbed by external events. Letting go of the need to control the uncontrollable doesn't mean abandoning effort. It means adopting an intelligent acceptance of reality. This acceptance frees us from unnecessary worry and anxiety, allowing us to live with greater ease and calm. Imagine the difference it would make in your life if, instead of stressing about things you can't change, you focused your energy on how you can respond to them. For example, when you're stuck in traffic, you could choose to feel frustrated and anxious, or you could accept the situation and focus on using that time in a way that benefits you, perhaps listening to a podcast, thinking through a problem, or simply practicing deep breathing. It's the difference between feeling powerless and choosing how to respond with power. The ability to let go of what you can't control is empowering. It means you no longer give away your peace of mind to things or people who are beyond your influence. It means you stop spending energy on unnecessary worry, freeing up that energy for things that matter. You learn to navigate life with a sense of clarity and purpose, rather than being dragged down by the current of circumstances. This doesn't mean you stop caring or that you give up trying to improve situations. On the contrary, the Stoic perspective encourages us to act with reason and wisdom in the areas where we can make a difference. But it also teaches us that when something is outside of our control, resisting it or obsessing over it only leads to frustration and distress. Acceptance of reality is a powerful tool that allows you to focus your efforts on what you can change and let go of what you can't. Ultimately, letting go of control is an act of self-liberation. It's about making the conscious choice to stop fighting against the flow of life and to start embracing it. By choosing how you respond to situations, you stop being at the mercy of external forces and begin to live with greater peace, clarity, and purpose. So next time you're faced with a situation you can't control, remember that the power lies in how you respond. By letting go of the need to control the uncontrollable, you free yourself to live more peacefully and intentionally. 7. Self-care is not selfish, it's necessary. Self-care is often misunderstood. Many people see it as a luxury or an indulgence, something that only the fortunate can afford. However, self-care is not an optional part of life, but a fundamental necessity. It's easy to focus on physical health, but mental and emotional well-being are often neglected. We tend to push through stress and exhaustion, thinking that it's a sign of strength. But in reality, the act of prioritizing your own well-being is what keeps you strong and resilient in the long term. I think of Emma, a longtime friend who embodies this struggle. She is an incredibly dedicated person, someone who always gives her best to her work and others. Every day, Emma poured her heart and soul into her projects, constantly striving to help people and meet the needs of those around her. She never took time for herself, believing that to be truly committed, she had to sacrifice her own needs. However, this constant giving began to take its toll. Emma started feeling drained, overwhelmed and disconnected from things she once loved. The spark she had for her work started to fade, and she found herself losing motivation. It wasn't until she reached this breaking point that Emma realized something crucial. She couldn't keep running on empty. One weekend, Emma made a decision. She took the entire weekend off to focus on herself. She turned off her phone, picked up a book, and went for walks in the park. In those moments of quiet reflection and simple enjoyment, she realized something profound. Self-care isn't a sign of weakness or selfishness. It's essential for maintaining balance, clarity, and sustainable growth. This experience marked a turning point for Emma, as she understood that taking care of herself was not only vital for her own well-being, but also for her ability to continue helping others effectively. This is where Stoicism offers valuable insight. Stoic philosophers emphasized that to live a virtuous life, one must first cultivate personal strength, and that includes tending to both physical and mental health. The Stoics recognize that a healthy mind and body form the foundation for everything else in life. You cannot give your best to others, whether it's in relationships, work, or service, if you are not in a state of balance with yourself. Just as a tree cannot flourish without proper roots, you cannot function at your highest potential if you neglect your own needs. The idea of self-care in Stoic philosophy is not about indulgence or selfishness. It's about being wise enough to understand that taking care of yourself is the first step in being able to serve others and live a full, purposeful life. When you care for your mind, body, and soul, you give yourself the strength to face life's challenges with clarity and resilience. Without this care, you risk becoming depleted, disconnected, and ineffective. We often hear that taking time for ourselves is selfish, but this is a misconception. In fact, neglecting self-care is the true form of selfishness, as it limits our ability to contribute positively to the world around us. By taking the time to nurture yourself, you're not only improving your own quality of life, but you're also in a better position to give back to others in a meaningful way. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you don't replenish your own energy, eventually there will be nothing left to give. Self-care doesn't have to mean expensive spa days or luxurious getaways. It can be as simple as setting aside time each day for yourself, whether it's for meditation, exercise, or simply resting. It's about creating space in your life where you can recharge, reflect, and reconnect with what truly matters to you. It's about making intentional choices to protect your mental and emotional health, even if the world around you demands more from you. As you reflect on Emma's story, consider how you prioritize your own well-being. Do you push yourself until you're exhausted, thinking it's the only way to show dedication? Or do you recognize that taking a break is not just about relaxation, but a necessary step toward maintaining your overall health? The Stoic approach encourages us to embrace self-care as an act of wisdom, a way to preserve our energy and stay connected to our deeper purpose. Taking care of yourself isn't an act of selfishness. It's an act of survival, strength, and wisdom. It's the foundation upon which you can build a fulfilling and impactful life. The more you prioritize your well-being, the more you're able to show up as your best self, both for yourself and for others. So remember, self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the key to living a life of balance, purpose, and lasting strength. In conclusion, prioritizing yourself is not just important, it's essential for living a life of purpose and balance. By understanding the power of saying no, protecting your peace, and embracing self-care, you can cultivate a mindset that allows you to thrive, not just survive. The Stoic principles we've discussed teach us that peace, resilience, and strength come from within. Stop seeking external validation and instead focus on what you can control: your responses, your actions, and your self-worth. Remember, true power lies in the ability to take care of yourself first, so you can be there for others in the best way possible. I encourage you to share your thoughts and personal experiences in the comments below. What changes are you making to prioritize yourself today? And remember, this journey is ongoing. Keep practicing self-care and embracing the Stoic mindset every day.